Welcome to Fix My Deck, episode 11. Today we're going to be talking about a Balan Voltron deck. Balan is a 4-mana white commander, has first strike, has double strike as long as it has 2 or more equipment attached to it, and then has an ability, pay 2 mana, attach all equipment you control to Balan. This person gave us a lot of details in the Fix My Deck form. Their goal is basically to get Balan above 11 power and toughness and give him protection and then one-shot people. But the problem with this deck is it runs out of cards and they always end up in top decking mode. They get a little jealous of the players who take 5 to 10 minutes per turn. Well, they just sit there and swing and draw. And they're hoping adding more draw will help this. You know, I will say mono white Voltron can only do so much in a turn. And probably the best thing to do is attack the players who take the 5 or 10 minute turns, or make a blue-green deck or an Is It Spellslinger deck.
The possibilities for Voltron, like even in other colors, Voltron is pretty standard, which is just suit up your commander and swing out. And most of your turns are like spent building that engine.
It's just kind of you play some equipment, you attach some equipment, and then you swing. And especially since you're giving your commander protection, combat's going to go pretty quickly. So in general, you know, you're never really going to make it to taking those super long value turns. But that's why you can kill the players who do, or play cards that prevent them from doing a lot in a turn. Now, this player did have quite a few restrictions that we need to follow for fixing this deck. One is it is a waifu deck, so the priority is definitely anime-themed cards. No Universes Beyond cards, no white bordered cards, and most importantly, they have exactly 33 lands, 33 artifacts, and 33 everything else. And then they have a perfect split of 1, 2, and 3 CMC cards. And that all seems fine. 33 lands would normally be a little on the low side, but a deck like this with a low curve and with things like Weathered Wayfarer and Land Tax can do fine with a lower number of lands.
It's an interesting deck design constraint, and we did both an edit of like conforming to this constraint as well as an edit not conforming. And I think the big thing is that these constraints are purely for a deck builder, but they don't make your deck better in that, you know, having a perfect split between 1, 2, and 3 CMC cards is really strong in a limited or a standard format where you're a 60 card deck or 40 card deck and you're trying to curve out. And the impact of like turn 1, you play a land and a 1-drop. Turn 2, you play a land and a 2-drop. And turn 3, you play a land and a 3-drop. That form of play wins limited games consistently. But in Commander, you have so much more life that early aggression and consistently hitting that curve is actually not that important.
Yeah, it's not as much of a priority for winning the game, but
I mean, it is a fun constraint to build around. Just know that the deck is less powerful because you're conforming to a very restrictive and interesting deck constraint.
Yeah, it definitely would reduce the power level of it, but that's okay. Let's get started by looking at the edits we've decided to make for Balan. Of course, it was difficult to cut and add cards because of the restrictions, but let's see, we have Cloudstone Kieran. You can't lose the game and your opponents can't win the game.
So the 3 mana, the 3 CMC slot is really pivotal for draw, and so I tried to jam in as much draw as possible, and so cards like this just need to come out in order to provide the space for drawing those cards. I think there's also a little bit of a non-bow in that
it doesn't work with the commander's ability.
It works with the commander. Oh, that's true. It doesn't work with the commander's ability.
Yeah, you can't pay the mana to attach Cloudstone Kieran to Balan.
And if you equip any of the white swords, this will also cause it to fall off.
I forgot to mention is this player wants to run all 10 of the swords, which is cool thematically, but yeah, a lot of them have protection from white, which means you can't keep something like this attached. Cold Steel Heart, yeah, there's probably better 2 drops.
Deck runs, the deck is running 1, 2, and like it's running an equal number of 1, 2, and 3 drops, so it doesn't need this level of ramp. And as long as it can consistently get to like 4 or 5 mana on turn 4, like I, I don't think the deck needs to really go beyond 4 mana, like really. I mean, sure, it's always good to have more to, power abilities, play multiple cards a turn, but yeah, I think there are good cards that out there at 2 mana that draw you cards.
Yeah, I agree. There's if you're gonna go for the 1, 2, 3, 4 drops, and you don't need to go one and then do a 2 drop mana rock into the commander. And like you said, we have to make cuts to make room for other things. So we got Golem Skin Gauntlets. Equipped creature gets +1/+0 for each equipment attached to it. It's a 1 drop.
Yeah, cutting this one was interesting in that I mostly cut it to make room for another or for a different artifact, not because I wanted to drop it necessarily. Because I am adding more artifacts, and so I needed to create room for an artifact. So then I needed to find a 1 drop to replace it. That wasn't an artifact.
Yeah, that makes sense. So we got Idyllic Tutor, which is dropped. That makes sense because there's not a lot of enchantments in this deck.
There's 2.
Yeah, especially now that we've edited it. I think before it had 3 or 4, but that's not worth running. So Lion Sash, again, this is something that won't equip to Balan if it has protection from white, so it's kind of a nombo. So that one's better to drop. Locks it on Warhammer, +3/+0, trample, and lifelink. I used to love Locks it on Warhammer, but it's kind of a lot of mana, and trample is probably not that relevant in this deck.
It's aged out. This was a haymaker, I don't know, in Commander like 5 and 10 years ago. Like, it was in every deck because there were so few sources that could give both trample and lifelink.
Yeah, but now you have like Shadow Sphere.
Yeah, Shadow Spear really
a 1 drop for +1/+1 trample and lifelink. 1 drop
and an activated ability.
Yeah. Mistveil Plains.
This land was mostly dropped because I added an extra creature. So to maintain the basic lands to creatures ratio, I had to add in a plains because I added an extra creature.
Yep, that makes sense. The Moonblade-based Cleric, again, we don't have a lot of enchantments in the deck, so we don't really need to play a 3-drop to go get them. Ranger Captain of Eos, ETB, yeah, get a creature for mana cost 1 or less, sack it to prevent people from casting non-creature spells. I do love this card, but I guess you probably wanted to get some more of the card draw 3-drops in here, huh?
Yeah, I made more room for 3-drop draw, as well as I did add in 1 hate bear with evasion that I think is just as useful as this. Because really, the tutoring ability to grab a 1-drop is not that useful for the deck, because it only runs, I think, 3. And I mean, silencing your opponents can be really good, but you're already giving your commander protection from a lot of things, so I don't know how useful it really is to silence your opponents.
Yeah, it's only a one-off effect for 1 turn, which in EDH we normally want things that are more persistent. Smothering Tithe you decide to drop.
I really like Smothering Tithe, but it is not, the deck just doesn't have a high end. So you play this on turn 3 or 4, and you start generating 3 treasures a turn cycle at least. The deck doesn't have enough draw nor enough outlets to just dump treasures. So like I run Smothering Tithe in 8.5 tails, but that's because you always have an outlet.
You have all the mana to dump into your commander.
Yeah, you always have an activated ability to spend it on, so that's why it got dropped.
Yeah, it's not a lot to dump your mana into. Stone Hero Giant. I used to love this card, but these days, I mean, 5 mana and 2 and tap. It's a little bit slow for what this deck is doing.
Yeah, it's a 5 mana, do nothing the turn it comes out. And then you have to hope no one kills it or board wipes or interacts with your board. And then next turn, you'll get to fetch up a sword or some equipment.
Mm-hmm.
I replaced this with a card I actually really like that I don't see enough people playing.
Sword of Vengeance, 3, equip 3, +2/+0, first strike, vigilance, trample, and haste, which really in this commander is just vigilance, trample, and haste. But like you said, there's more 3-drop draw we want to play.
And you're running all the other swords. It's like I would rather it be even the worst sword, like Sword of Body and Mind, I think is better than Sword of Vengeance.
Yeah, and especially, I mean, trample is not particularly relevant in this deck since you're often going for having protection from all the colors. Thran Parasuit, equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each aura and equipment attached to it and has Ward 2.
It's a good card. I think there are just duplicative effects, and in a deck that's trying to suit up your commander that innately gets double strike, this to me seems win more. And yeah, Ward is great, but you're also playing all the protection swords. Plus, you have Robe of Stars and Lightning Greaves, Lava Spur Boots, and Swiftfoot Boots. So there's already a lot of built-in protections. I don't know if it's really necessary.
Yeah, I wouldn't be the priority for me. Let's look at the additions. So first we got Trouble in Pairs, which is a great one to add because that's going to give us a lot more card draw. This is a much better 4-drop enchantment than Smothering Tides for this deck.
And randomly hoses the extra turns player.
Yeah, yeah, I always love cards that randomly hose the extra turns player. We're gonna add in Archaeomancer's Map. This is one of my favorite white cards, right up there with land tax. It really helps you ramp pretty hard, and it gets you 2 lands into your hands, so it's got some equivalency to like Kadama's Reach or Cultivate, but it's also a repeatable static effect.
I also think in a deck that runs 15 planes, running both land tax and Archaeomancer's Map actually increases the odds of you drawing out enough basic lands out of your deck that it'll actually make your average draw slightly better. In that the deck runs all 5 fetches plus a Prismatic Vista and land tax and Archaeomancer's Map. So I actually think it is completely possible to draw out enough planes that your average draw power goes up.
Yeah, I mean it can definitely increase your card quality. Some people dismiss using fetch lands and things in that way because it's a small effect, but it really depends on whether or not you care about a bunch of small effects. And of course, cumulatively they add up. Bitterhorn, here's another basic ramp card.
I also really like this card for the white draw package I added because so much of white draw relies on a cheap or a low powered creature entering play. And so this will also trigger Enduring Innocence or Welcoming Vampire type effects.
Yeah, I like this equipment quite a bit. It's pretty handy. Glimmer Lens, colorless white for Mirrodin. Whenever equipped creature and at least one other creature attack, draw a card. What's for Mirrodin? That makes a token when it enters.
Yeah, it makes a 2/2 rebel that it's attached. So at the base, it's a 2/2 creature for 2, which is quite good. It also can draw you a card, and it's an equipment, and will also trigger Enduring Innocence or Welcoming Vampire.
The Aether Spark, 4-mana, legendary artifact, planeswalker equipment. It does a lot of things. I'm not going to read them all, but it has a -5 that's draw 2 cards, and it's an equipment planeswalker, so that's pretty awesome.
It is definitely what the deck wants to be doing, and it's unlikely that you'll ever need to -10 it to add 10 mana, but you could if you had a lot of cards to drop. But I think the ideal play pattern is turn 4, you play it, equip it to a creature. Now it's at 5 loyalty. You attack with that whatever creature, it whether or not it's your commander or not. Hopefully connect, and then the next turn you can -5 it to draw 2 cards.
Attach the Aether Spark. Do you have to use the +1 to attach it?
Yes. You might be able to Balan it, actually. Attach
Yeah,
all
because I
equipment
think
to Balan. So yeah, you can use Balan.
an equipment can't also be a creature, but I think it can also be a planeswalker. So I think you can Balan this on unlike
Yes.
the lion sash.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's actually just a specific rule around equipments can't also be creatures when they're attached to a creature because it would make combat really weird. Even Mind Sensor. I mean, I love this card, and this is a great way to shut off, those players trying to take the super long turns, especially if they're in blue green or something. And in general, people are using fetch lands and stuff, so it's just a good 3-drop.
It also has evasion, which is great for slapping things like the Glimmer Lens onto to connect.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and we also forgot the Tome of Legends, which is just another
Right.
really strong draw card for Voltron style commanders.
Yeah, I run this in Giada, and I would say most non-blue and non-green decks, Tome of Legends can be solid.
I'd say it's even good in green. Green has a lot of fast or like draw a lot of cards, but not a lot of incremental draw. I guess
Yeah.
that's not true now. There's a bunch of whenever you play a creature, you draw a card.
Yeah, it's got quite a bit of incremental draw. It could still be playable in green. I just don't think it's as important as it is in some of the other colors. Enduring Innocence. When a creature with power 2 or less enters under your control, you draw a card. And that's sweet. I love the... Is there a term for this? The way it comes back as an enchantment?
It's just a 5-card cycle from
Yeah,
House
there's no
of
ability keyword or anything for that,
Duskman.
but I just like it because yeah, it's like you kill it once and it comes back, and yeah, it'll draw you some cards. I mean, you showed us last weekend you were running this in mono white and drawing a lot of cards off of it.
Yeah, I really like these enduring cards. They are very cool.
Lauren of the Third Path, ETB, destroy up to one target artifact or enchantment, and then tap you and target opponent each draw a card. I like this card.
Does everything you want it to. It has vigilance, which I think is a great keyword with the swords. And then you can also trigger the you and target opponent draw, so you can just pick the person who's doing the least well at the table.
Yeah, it's like you can help get someone back in the game, and I like cards like that. And you can also give the card to the player who's doing the most well, and then just swing over and kill them with Balan. So then it doesn't even matter you gave them a card. Relic Seeker, 2 mana, Renown 1. When it becomes renowned, you may search your library for equipment card or reveal it, put it in your hand and shuffle your library. Yeah, that's a pretty solid 2-drop for this deck.
Yeah. For me, I think Relic Seeker is the much better version of Stonehewer Giant that people should be running. Because it's in mono white, my Voltron version, it is consistently like a turn 2 play, and then no one has any blockers, so you can like reliably get an equipment on turn 3.
Yeah, the one advantage Stonehero Giant has is just that it's instant speed, so you can respond to removal and stuff with it. But it's a lot of extra mana to pay for that advantage.
Well, and like if in the early game, most people are trying to build their board playing mana rocks, so it's unlikely that someone will really hate this out with removal. I mean, it is a very potent effect, but it's
No, I don't
not
mean hating Relic Seeker out. I just mean the advantage of, someone tries to remove your commander or even cast a board wipe, and then you just tutor for an equipment into play attached to it and save it.
Yeah, I mean that is really cool, but it still requires a lot of setup.
It's a lot of mana, and this is better for the deck. Warden of the Inner Sky. As long as it has 3 more counters on it, it has Flying and Vigilance. Tap 3 untapped artifacts you control, put a 1 counter on it, and scry 1. That's pretty cool. You can tap the equipment and scry 1 to increase your card quality, and then it has Flying and Vigilance potentially.
It's a nifty card. I don't think it's particularly good because I don't think one drops need to do a lot to be worth playing in Commander, I think. So like Esper Sentinel, great 1-drop, or Mother of Runes, great 1-drop. Like the activated ability is very, very strong. Whereas something like this it's fine. Like to me, it's kind of the middling power level of like, yeah, like it's not a bad thing to run. But I had to add this because I had to add a creature into the deck at a 1-drop because of the restrictions. I mean, I think you could conceivably swap this for a Path to Exile, and that would be fine. But I think like Voltron decks, even though your goal is to suit up your commander, do want to run enough creatures to put other equipment on, because sometimes you do want to attack different players at the same time.
Yeah, sometimes like you have a 1-drop and then you have like Sword of the Animist, and you play that turn 2, and then turn 3 maybe you don't have a 3-drop, so you equip Sword and swing with the 1-drop. I mean, there are gonna be nice things to having creatures.
Yeah. And the synergy with equipment, tapping your own equipment to put a counter on it and scry is not bad.
Welcoming Vampire, pretty similar to Enduring Innocence. It's small creature card draw, and it's also got Flying, so that's good for the evasion. So,
but overall, I think it's a really cool deck. I've never considered Balan a possibility for a Voltron. In that, yeah, I already have a 8.5 Tails mono white Voltron deck, so I'm like, I'm kind of top up on Voltron.
Yeah,
But if I didn't, Balan's pretty cool.
Yeah, Balan's one of the stronger ones. I mean, I like him, and I like the Planeswalker one.
And I think the big thing is the challenge with these updates is obeying the restrictions on the deck building to have that mana curve. Or if you can scroll back up, you can look at the exact mana curve where it's like, yep, 1s, 2s, and 3s are all equal, which is really cool. It's just kind of hard to build around. And same with, like, I think the hardest restriction is actually running 33 artifacts, because I don't actually think I want to run all 33 of these artifacts. Masterwork of Ingenuity to me is not that useful. Like it's a really cool card, but on the other hand, like, you need to have an equipment in play for it to be useful. So sometimes it might be a dead draw early. And so I'd rather it be a card that I can play and have an immediate impact consistent. If it was just another 1-drop creature, or...
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably even run, like, Sad Robot or something, you know, if we opened up the...
But that's if you, change the rules.
Yeah, change the other rules, too. Yeah, it's like I'd probably run Sad Robot, or, yeah, for a different... What's the 1-drop ramp artifact?
Oh, Wayfarer's Bauble.
Yeah, like Wayfarer's Bauble could be fine.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's play test this. So this hand, I mean, this is... we got a 1, 2, and a 3, and 3 planes. This seems acceptable to me. It's not an amazing hand, but...
I'd say it's quite good, because you could easily... turn 1 Sigarda.
I'd say it got really good now with Pure Steel Paladin.
I would, yeah.
So now we play Sword of Hearth and Home.
Equip. You get the free equip with Sigarda's Aid, which is...
Yeah, we can equip it, but...
And then I would just hate people out with the Archon of Emeria.
Yeah, you can do Iron Crag into Archon, and then draw, and then...
I would play the Bonder's Enclave, because you're probably not going to play... I wouldn't run out the Aven Mind Sensor.
Yeah, but we're going to play our commander, probably.
Oh, I guess. Yeah. I mean, I was thinking of actually not running out Balan and drawing a card off of Bonder's Enclave would be my play, probably. Because everyone's locked to 1 card a turn, so you can probably at least get a few more swings of the Sword and Hearth and Home.
Yeah, I guess I was thinking, it's like I'd probably want to play out Balan, move the Sword of Hearth and Home over on him at some point.
I guess you could also convert the Iron Crag into an equipment.
Yeah, because that thing is then next turn we draw the Iron Crag. Oh yeah, and he will become equipment and attached. So right now he's that's 3 plus 5, 9. So we can Masterwork of Ingenuity the Sword of Hearth and Home to draw a card.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's...
I mean, at this point, I think the deck is doing what we want. I mean, I was pretty convinced this deck was going to do what it... Like, it was pretty good.
We have enough mana to draw off Bonder's Enclave. And then, yeah, we attack. Someone's dead off this. Try another game. Okay, this is good. So, we'll play this. Prismatic Vista. We'll go to Plains. And then we'll play Blood Forge.
I would not play out the Battle Forge. because next turn you should play the Ancient Tomb, SRAM, Bloodforged Battle Axe, draw. So I'd actually sit on it, which is, I guess, less optimal use of mana, but
Oh. Yeah, that's true, because it actually doesn't matter. Yeah, if we're going to play SRAM. So yeah, we'll play SRAM next. Oh, yeah, next turn we'll play SRAM and then Bloodforged Battle Axe or Basilisk Collar and draw. We draw for their next turn. Buried Ruin. And
I would run out. Well, it depends. Like if there's a free attack, I would run out the Aether Spark now, because then you would draw the card from SRAM, you would plus it to put it onto SRAM and attack, and then you would put 3 more counters onto the Aether Spark. The next turn you would draw 2.
yeah, that seems reasonable. Boom, buff him, attack. Oh, we draw a card off, cast that. Next turn, draw a card. Let's do planes. And then, so it'd be 4 for Balan.
Well, so now you could draw the 2 from the Aether Spark.
I don't know if
Or
we
you
need
could
to draw 2.
swing
though.
with it again, and then like -10 it for a bunch of mana.
Yeah, actually, I like that play because swing. Yeah, if we swing, let's see, we said this is 3. It would have been 8, so that's 11, and then we -10 it to make 10 mana, and then we play Basilisk Collar and draw. We play Sword of Justice and draw. That's 4. We play Balan, then we attach all the equipment to Balan, and then next turn we
Do a bunch.
yeah we do quite a bit. We draw and do a bunch of damage, and yeah, and then we have more card draw options. Oh yeah, once we do damage with the Aether Spark, we have the card draw engine. So yeah, Aether Spark seems pretty clutch. Let's try one more. Okay. I would not keep this.
Yeah, I would ship
it's
this hand.
33 lands, so we're going to mulligan. Oof, that is also unkeepable. So now we'll mulligan down to 6. We'll put a card on bottom. We can put this plains on the bottom.
But I know, this type of mulligan is, to me, totally expected in a deck that runs 33 lands.
Yeah. Well, Windswept Heath, draw. Ooh, plains, Pure Steel Paladin, draw. I guess we'll do the Flooded Strand just to keep thinning out our deck a little bit. Plains. And then
I think I would run the Lauren out more than I would run out the Esper.
I agree, because probably someone has an artifact or enchantment you want to hit right now, especially if you can hit like an early Soul Ring. And then this is reliable card draw.
I'd also say at this point in time, like, it would be turn 3 or 4. People will start paying for Esper at that point for their ramp.
Yeah, and people are also going to be transitioning into more creature spells typically, so Esper Sentinel can have less value. So, boom, we'll draw. We'll tap to draw.
Oh, that's quite good.
Play this plains.
What would I do here? I think I would run out the Sword of Hearth and Home and then the Esper Sentinel? Or would I Esper Sentinel Recruiter of the Guard?
No, I'd get the swords out so we can get Metalcraft off Pure Steel.
I guess, but we're okay. Yeah, I guess it is.
I'd probably do Sword, Feast, and Famine, draw,
and Esper Sentinel.
Yeah, next turn we draw War Room.
You would drop the Sword of Hearth and Home.
Yeah, Sword of Hearth and no, first we draw off Lauren, and then Sword of Hearth and Home, and we can do free equips to these when we draw. And then we can also do Open the Armory. And probably get the Aether Spark.
Yeah, it's tough. It's like the Aether Spark or Sword of Fire and Ice. Sword of Fire and Ice will give you almost 100% coverage. Like, you're just missing... No, you have total coverage with Sword of Fire and Ice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um, we'll draw for next turn. Well, actually, we could have swung with Esper and untapped our lands and played
The Aether Spark.
the
Yeah,
Aether
no,
Spark.
I think
And
at this point it's like, oh, the
drawn a,
deck is just chugging along.
yeah, no, all three. I mean, the last two of these games worked in terms of not running out cards. The first game, you still kind of ran out cards, but that's just to be expected with a deck like this. I mean, it's
And
mono white Voltron. It's not blue green, or is it, or anything else?
and to be fair, like the deck was already very strong to begin with. Like really, we weren't tweaking that much with it.
Yeah, this person says they're arch enemy, and it's like probably for a reason. I mean, they're probably, even if they're not winning games, they're probably
Knocking a
being
player out.
extremely
Really.
threatening and forcing people to deal with them. It's like, even if your deck loses a lot, it can still just be because you have the best deck at the table.
There is a list, like we can include the list where we took more liberties while still keeping kind of the same essence. I
Yeah,
really think the MDFCs are really important in mono white. I think Witch
yeah,
Enchanter is really strong, especially in a Voltron deck where it's fine to run 33 lands. Having those MDFCs are actually quite clutch, I think.
yep, yeah, that would be. Yeah, so if we weren't so stuck to the theme, there's a lot of things we would change about the deck. We'd probably up the mana curve. We'd add the MDFC cards, and I think we did a good job of sticking to this player's restrictions, and I think we made what was already a very good deck a little bit better. So
Yeah,
if you
I
made it
mean,
this
Franco
far,
and Myth Miss It. That sounds intimidating.
yeah, it sounds like a tough play group. So if you made it this far, thanks for watching, and see you next time.